Hello and welcome to another video. Today is a long-awaited video, or at least it is for me because I've been talking about it for a couple of months now, and I'll get into the reason for that in just a second. This is my baby-led weaning journey video. My son is 9 months old now, and I started taking these videos back in March of this year. So when he was just turning 6 months, we went ahead and started him on solids. And this is the first baby I have been able to do baby-led weaning with. My other two kids both had some kind of like oral motor kind of like issues, I guess. Like they were just a little bit slower to be able to use their tongue and things like that. And so I didn't personally feel comfortable doing baby-led weaning with them. So we just did purees. With this baby, we're doing mostly baby-led weaning, just a tiny bit of purees, which he doesn't particularly like. So we're kind of being forced to do basically exclusive baby-led weaning. But tell me why I thought I was going to give him a cucumber on the first day and he was going to gobble that thing up. He surely did not. He first was just kind of like barely holding the things. Things would slip out of his hands all the time. He would kind of lick them and kind of maybe gnaw on them for a little bit. And then after about, 3 weeks of that, he started to get where he could hold it really well and he could kind of like take bites of different things, but then he was immediately spitting them back out. And he was in that stage for quite a while, and I think it's probably just right about now that we're finally getting to a point where he is actually like putting food in his mouth and actually consuming some of the food. And I did not know that that was what I should be expecting. I came into this journey pretty blind. I think I just kind of had an idea of what baby-led weaning was in my head. I downloaded the app called Solid Starts, and I just kind of figured he would figure it all out and it would sort itself out, and that he would be eating mostly solid foods before he even turned 1 year old. And that is not how our journey is going, and that is totally okay. It's just not what I expected. Recently, my friend gifted me this book called The Baby-Led Weaning Cookbook by Jill Rapley and Tracy Marquette. I haven't really read this book or looked much at it. I just kind of have skimmed through the intro, and there's so much information online about like, at 6 months, basically like we should be replacing, what it seemed to me is we should be replacing one breastfeeding a day with solid foods. And then by the time they're 7 months, you can replace 2 per day with solid foods and 3. So I thought he was supposed to be getting calories from these feeds. Like that's the way the information was presented to me. So I figured he would just figure it out. Now, let it be known, my baby is still 9 months old, no teeth still. But I don't really feel like they need teeth, but I don't know. I was kind of concerned about that for a while, but I don't know. I think we're starting to figure it out. And yeah, so basically those first couple months was all about just like exposure to different food tastes and textures and, allowing him to practice holding on to things and putting it in his mouth, like that, hand to mouth coordination. And now I think he's really got a lot of those beginning skills down. He's starting to figure out how to move the food around in his mouth. At first he was gagging a ton, and I did not know that was normal. And now his gag reflex, he's kind of like built up some immunity, or not like immunity, but you know what I'm saying? Like he doesn't gag as much as he used to, kind of maturity in his gag reflex. And so anyways, I was reading this book, kind of skimming through it, the introduction, not even the recipes, but what I learned is that all this is normal, that what my kid is doing is what every kid does. They gag a ton at the beginning. They're not actually ingesting the food.
Avocado.
And then after, a couple months, they start to actually ingest some of the food, and they start to kind of figure out all of these skills. So that's kind of where we're at now. But yeah, I expected to put this video out a couple months ago, like, here's every day for a month of baby-led weaning, and by the end of it I thought he was going to be like fully eating food on his own, and that is just not the case. So in these first clips that you're seeing him eat all kinds of things: toasted bread, waffles, eggs, avocado, cucumbers, red pepper, all kinds of stuff for him to get a plethora of textures and tastes in his mouth and get used to those things, like learning how to hold on to slimy avocados and things like that. And yeah, you'll also see he's eating some sweet things, some savory things. We just went ahead and did it all at once. So I know people feel different ways about all that. I don't really care. I just was like, this is what we're eating, so this is what you're eating. But anyways, so now that I've kind of showed you this beginning part, I am gonna start including like now my more educated self, now that he's 9 months old and I'm a little bit more educated, how we're doing things now and how things are going and the difference from then to now.
Yeah. We were using the dipper spoon, but that ended up on the floor. He used it decently well, but fingers are just faster, aren't they?
Hi. Are you ready to eat? Yeah. So Elliot is almost 10 months old now. We've been doing baby-led weaning for about 3.5 months. I feel like he's just now getting to an age where he's actually eating a significant amount of the food. He still definitely pushes, like he'll take little bites off and sometimes he'll spit them out. So I was gonna try to get him to eat these cucumbers. It's really hit or miss. It's definitely not count as like a meal for him, and these cucumbers he didn't eat at all. So that's lovely. Let me go find something else. So, yes, we've been doing this for 3 months or so, maybe closer to 4 months. And he's really just now like starting to really eat some of the food. I wouldn't say this replaces any meals for him. And we are doing not 100% strict baby-led weaning, but like 98%. So we're not giving him any purees. We're not spoon feeding him. We give him yogurt and stuff sometimes, but we try to get him to feed himself as much as possible. But yeah, you can see he ripped this piece off and threw it on the floor. But he has a lot of it in his mouth right now, and some of it in his hand. He's still working on like, he balls up the food in his hand and then he can't eat that food. I know I already said this, but I really thought that like with baby-led weaning, it was like they practice a few times and then they're like actually eating the food, and then within a couple weeks they're like substituting meals, like instead of breastfeeding or having formula, he has a meal that's like real food. And maybe that's the case for some people, but I don't think that's typical. I think more what we have experienced is typical. I just didn't know that going into it. So, you know, we give him food and most of it does not get eaten. Most of it ends up on the floor, but it's good practice, and you know, we've come a long way these 4 months. Okay, he just threw that on the floor. But we've come a long way with like the fine motor skills. His tongue is learning how to move the food around in his mouth safely so he doesn't gag and choke, which he really doesn't gag and choke very much anymore. He's really started to figure it out. Good job, buddy. We do have this mirror here to help support, not just for him, but also his brother, to help support like them, like knowing what's going on. Water. And then we have these bear bottles that we got off Amazon, and they're really great because you can you know, squeeze the water up into the straw. So it's really good for teaching them, but honestly, he does a lot of it himself now, but it took a couple months. And then once they're able to do this, then like baby food pouches become a lot easier. So, yeah, I just wanted to kind of like share an update because like I said, I kind of filmed like every day for the first couple weeks and then a couple times a week for the next few weeks. And then it was like very spotty here and there because I just wasn't really sure. He just threw this on the floor. I wasn't sure what was going on or like what I was doing wrong, but I think it just takes more time than I expected it to, and hopefully by the time he's a year old, he'll be eating much more independently and eating a lot of the same foods that we're eating. That's definitely our goal. So I will go ahead and let him eat this, and then I'll show you guys how much at the end he ended up throwing on the floor, which like, you know, isn't like he probably would have eaten this a lot, like more than I'm going to show you that he ate, but the reality is that they do throw a lot of food on the floor at the beginning. So, need some water? Do you need some water? Can I try? Can I give you a little bit? Just a little bit. Just to help him kind of. You've got a lot of food in your mouth right now, huh? I see it. So he did just do a couple little gags there, but he's not like throwing up and expelling the food out of his mouth anymore when he does that. It's just kind of like it slides down his throat a little bit, and so he gags it to get it back up, which is a really good skill for them to develop, helping to make sure that they don't choke. So it's actually safe when they are gagging, which is something it took some getting used to. Anyways, I'm just gonna let him finish. I'll show you how much is left over at the end so you can see how well it's going now, like 3 to 4 months into baby-led weaning. So I think he has a little bit more in his mouth right now that he's working on, but for the most part it's gone, and he's been drinking his water. I would say he ate definitely less than half of this bread, maybe like a third of it. So that's kind of where we're at. 10 months old, 3.5 months into this process. All right, well that is all I have for my baby-led weaning video that I wanted to share with you guys. Obviously, this is a journey that we're gonna continue on, and I may have updates in the future, but I just thought it would be helpful to share the journey from beginning to end from someone who was new to it. And yeah, I think I had a lot of misconceptions, and so I think I hope that you guys can really learn from my experience and my journey doing this, and hopefully have realistic expectations if you choose to do baby-led weaning or baby-led feeding yourself. If this didn't teach you anything and you feel like you already knew what to expect, then I at least hope you take comfort in knowing that other moms are also struggling sometimes, or confused, or things don't always go exactly to how we plan them. So whether this video was informative or just provided you with a sense of community, either way, I just thank you so much for watching and coming along with me. I hope you subscribe so that you can see the other videos that I put out. I put out all kinds of motherhood videos, taking vacations with my kids, like traveling videos, thrifting, lifestyle vlogs, things like that. I just share whatever is on my heart, whatever is on my mind, whatever I'm working on. That is what I love to share. I am a stay-at-home mom to 3 kids. This little one is my third, and we are currently raising 2 under 2. So if any of that sounds fun, I do hope you subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.